Who are the coolest dudes on the planet?
United States veterans.
What's the coolest sport on the planet?
Pro wrestling.
And what would be the coolest podcast on the planet? That would be this one.
U.S. military vets talking pro wrestling.
This is the No Shave Man Cave. Two badass disabled vets sharing their love of pro wrestling, giving you their perspective as fans, talking about current events and matches, history of titles, and who knows what else. Let's do it.
Welcome to the No Shave Men Cave. Now your hosts, Ellie Jair and Jay Tilley.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wrestling fans, and sports entertainment fans, welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
I am Jay Tilley.
Brother, it is time. Deuce is on the loose, and I am, I love when we get to, talk about wrestling and what it's done for us. And now we get to talk. We sprinkle in a little bit of wrestling, and we talk about us and that it's okay to not be okay. Happy 22nd, brother.
Yes, sir. 22nd, one of our favorite. Well, yes, it's our favorite show, but sometimes it gets a little rough.
Yeah.
For those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, the first time maybe even hearing our 22nd show. Yes, we do a lot of wrestling reviews. This one could get a little heavy. Trigger warning up front. We talk mental health. Where that goes, we don't always know. Also, always want to hit the disclaimer. None of us are professionals. We are not anyway licensed or anything. We're just, Jared and I are two guys that like to tell our story. Make sure that as veterans, other veterans, or anybody knows it's okay to not be okay. And tonight, we're joined with Tony, one of our friends, contacts, new fan of the show, hopefully. And he's going to kind of talk through some of his story. He's someone who's had some mental health issues. He and I have talked a lot offline. And he was down to come on and wanted to talk a little bit. So, Tony, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll fly. We'll see where we go.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate this. And before I introduce myself, I would like to thank you for being on our show on Thunder Nights. I really appreciate it. That's the kind of content that I want to create for that. Well, my name is Tony Allen. I am also known as El Editor. With the one and only La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa, and I am her manager, but more than anything, I'm her friend. So I like to always say that. But I'm here in another capacity. I guess I'm a guest today, so we can talk about our mental health issues. And it's very funny, right? Like the way you say, like he had some mental health issues in the past. And I'm like, that used to be like a really bad thing to say,
Yep.
right? Like it used to be like, there was a stigma like, oh, this is cuckoo. And I guess I want to, give my my 2 cents on how it's like to be a man, especially because I grew up in Mexico. I was born in Mexico. I live a long time in the States too, but I grew up in Mexico. So we have our own macho kind of thing going on. That is not always the best thing to approach things, though. And that image that of the Mexican macho, it's also very, very destructive for Mexican men as well. So it is always good to have a space, right, when we can talk about how we feel and how we felt too. Because even though we have we might have like past a certain point of our mental health crisis, then we have to be able to talk about what happened back then. And have it, share with everyone.
Yeah, it's funny. Even when I said it, it was like when I said, "Hey, he's had mental health," I was like, "Oh, that didn't sound right." So the stigmatism's still there. Even when I tell people myself, like my stories, like, "Oh yeah, I deal with depression, anxiety." We have our own burdens to carry. But yeah, when it came out of my mouth, I'm like, "Oh, I don't." But you're right. It's that stigmatism, right? It should be okay to say I have mental health issues. I mean, I believe that probably most people, if not all of us, have some kind of mental health issue. And the stigmatism, like you said, or the grown-up macho and all that, it's everywhere. And I think as we grow up, and Jared and I have talked about this before too, being in the military, we got a lot of shut up and color. Like, we've seen some stuff, we've done some things, and it's like, yeah, I'm upset. We don't care you're upset. Go do it again, or go do something else, or you refocus it. And coming out of the military for me was a triggering point too, because I went from 24 years of this is what your job is, this is what you do, to where am I going, what am I doing? That kind of feel of loss and loneliness. So it was interesting. But yeah, as I said, I was like, oh, I don't, ugh. But that's what I want to get away from. I want it to be more of a thing to say and be able to talk about for sure.
Right. And you talk to your buddies, and you mentioned getting out of the military. It's not just losing a paycheck. It's losing a way of life, losing, the camaraderie that you've had with your brothers and sisters in arms. And like we say every episode to our brothers and sisters in arms, we love you. Keep doing what you do. Hurry up, get your ass home safe. And you're now, sort of jokingly flapping in the wind, trying to find yourself while also trying to get a paycheck. So it's like, okay, this whole vicious cycle. But, we land on our feet because of the things that we learned in the military. We tend to move in packs because that's how we came up. So we bond with other military brothers and sisters, and that gives us our bond. And then, I love how Jay Tilly and I can sit and talk like, hey, man, how you doing? And he'll call me out on my bullshit. Oh, yeah, dude, I'm good. Really? Oh, man, I'm going through it, brother. And
Right, right.
I hope everybody has someone who's there, pull the flag. Let's go to the camera. You're full of it. Because I'm super fortunate that, I got Jay Tilly over here. And to everybody who's going through something, if you're a veteran, you can go to the App Store, My Healthy Vet. As soon as you download it, there's a little red banner. You hit it and instantly connected. If you're not a veteran or have access to be able to download an app, but you can get to a phone, you dial 988 and wait a couple of seconds, and you are directed instantly in your local area to someone that is available, and that's huge. So just so everybody knows that those resources are available. And then we talk about our heritage and how we were brought up, and oh well, I'm a drinker because I'm Irish, or I'm angry because I'm whatever nationality. But you know what? We're all human. We all bleed the same. And if you're going through it and you're in my area of influence, I'm going through it with you. And that's so freaking awesome. And when Tony first started talking to us, the fact that you were comfortable enough with us to share, I really appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And I hope it helped you, as much as how cathartic it was for me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that being said, I'll toss it to you, Tony. And if you want to go a little bit into what you've experienced or background, cool. If you don't, we'll keep talking. I just, I like to leave this very open to the guests. Whatever you're comfortable sharing or not sharing is fine with us.
Well, I just wanted to this thing that about the freedom of expression, right? About being able to express that it took a long time, and I'm gonna tell you an experience that I had once, and I'm pretty sure this person will be fine if I mention this story. I don't know if she will ever watch this, but I had a coworker one time. I was working in construction in Vancouver, and like we had like 3 words, and after that she mentioned to me that she was a survivor of rape by a member of the church. She was in Poland, but she just mentioned
Wow.
like 3 seconds into the conversation, like, and I was like, it, on my mind was like, why would you mention that? Like we were just getting to know each other, right? But then I'm like, no, because that is a very deep, scarring part of her life, and she wants to put it up front so that if she ever has any kind of like stopped or any kind of meltdown or anything like that, you can refer back to that situation. So I was like, of course, like that is an essential. I mean, of course, like she already had like some kind of rapport with me, and but she wanted to make sure that I knew that. And but how long does it take us to be able to tell other people our feelings? And I'm not saying like catastrophic feelings of post-traumatic syndrome or things like that. Just our regular feelings as men, regardless of where you're from. Like I said, I grew up in Mexico, and I come from a family of cowboys. Like literally, that's what we do, cowboy. And so you didn't have that ability to express your inner feelings when you got hurt. Like there is this story that always comes back to my mind when you talk about how hard it is to talk about our feelings. My dad, he was like nine. My dad had one of his fingers was bent because he got stuck in one of the the equipment to cut the corn, right? Those big machines that have blades around. So he got stuck in there, and then because he was crying and crying about it, my grandpa left him there until he will calm down with his hand stuck in.
What?
And then when he came back, it's like, "Are you calm?" And then he removed it, and then because he told his mom about it, he went back into the field the next day. And
Wow.
that's one of that's one of the things that I've tried to work on my therapy. It's how generational or mental health repression has been as men. Because if I don't work, I mean, and then of course he had his own issues. My father passed away when he was 54 years old because he abused alcohol. So he was gone, right? He was gone with him. And he never got around figuring out what mental health issues were. So he just went into alcohol, which was for a very long time the only solution to all of our problems. Was the beginning and the end of all, the solution of all the problems. And so I always try to figure myself when I feel anger or when something triggers a painful memory that is going to result in me hurting somebody else. And I'm not saying like I'm perfect and I don't never do it. Of course I do. Like I'm a human being, and sometimes I have an issue and something comes to me like, oh my god, and I get really angry for something that is less than the issue itself. Am I making sense here? Like
Yeah.
somebody says something to you and you get super angry. It's like it wasn't even that big. So I have to go back and figure out what is that generational problem that is inside of me, right? That I have to work on for me not to be that angry. Unfortunately, it's true for most men, I guess. We work after the fact, right? Like we work on it. We cannot work on things that haven't happened yet. But at least I think that we're, especially when we're speaking about it in spaces like this, we are creating the opportunity for others to reflect on what's going on inside of them. And this is what I told my psychiatrist, because I go to psychiatrist. That's what I told my psychiatrist. I'm like, I'm here because I act like nothing is wrong, but I'm sure there's something, and I'm just being here as a precautionary measure, I guess. And I think that's one of the most important things that I'm trying to work on. And if I have to, like, if I have to go back, when I was growing up, I was hyperactive. Like that. They didn't have this idea of being on the spectrum, right? It was he's a hyperactive kid, and you're talking about a kid that was growing up in the 80s in a like very small town, which is Parral, Chihuahua. It's a legendary town, but it's a very small town because that's where they killed Pancho Villa. So it's very legendary because
Oh,
yeah. So it was like from 1546 this town exists over there, right? So like very, it's like a couple of years after them they conquered Mexico, the Spanish conquered. Well, the empire, the Aztec Empire fell. So it's very old, but it's still very, very the same reason because it's old. It's very traditional. So you had this
mhm.
problematic kid that was just trying to read books and try and read and do stuff, and so they didn't know what to do with him. So they took me to a psychologist, and oh, he's hyperactive. And they told my mom, this guy is never going to be able. And I want you to hear this and see how far I've come. This kid will never be able to have regular, normal communication with other people. And my
Wow.
mom was like, "What do you mean? Yeah, he will never be able to connect with other humans." So my mom did what every Mexican mom did. And she put me to give speeches in front of first
Damn,
five,
that's
then 10, then
crazy.
50, then 500, and like 1,000. So yeah, so I've gone against my that this whole persona that I've created is so that I conquer my fear of human interaction, because I am very afraid of human interaction. But I've learned, and this is something that we talk a little bit on Thunder Nights. It's I believe that if you are very honest and direct with people, even if it's hard sometimes, because it's hard to be direct, they will understand you, and they will catch what you're saying. So I'm always very open about me or who I am or what I do. Like the other day, I was talking to you guys, and I was telling you about, like, certain Mexican stuff that goes and my girlfriend comes out of. Isn't that a little bit too much Mexico for these guys? I'm like, no, I'm just
Nah.
being open and honest, right? Like and so I think that's yeah, that is this work that you have to do because we all have to interact with other people. We're not islands, and we have to be, in connection with other people, and we need that connection. Even if you're not programmed, your brain is not programmed for human connection, or it has been reprogrammed not to have it. You still need it, because that's part of our nature. That's part. I mean, wolves are running packs, right? Like everybody has to have that connection. Society is necessary, and we need to be able to connect with other people so that our society doesn't break down. Because as the more that we understand other people, like three of us guys are from different backgrounds, different locations in the planet, and we'll still be able to talk here. So that's a very cool thing. That's a very important thing, that we don't lose the humanity in each other, even though we might not be programmed to do that. And it's a struggle. Yes, I mean, I have to go to therapy. I have to take medication for my deficit attention disorder. I have to take a point, medication for my depression, because growing up with all these circumstances of trying to being so different from other people. And like, I don't herd cattle right now. I'm a audiovisual artist. I take photos. So that was a being able to grow and get to that point where I was like, I'm gonna be an artist. That was a struggle. That was a very difficult struggle. I'm not saying like, I'm like artists, like, on movies and stuff like that. Like an actual artist
Yes.
that creates stuff, that maybe not a lot of people will see. And you have to come to terms with that too, because like, okay, you're gonna be an artist, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna like, I'm hoping to win an Oscar at one point, but doesn't mean that you're going to be like a billionaire with a Bentley or whatever. That was very a 90s kind of thing. Trying to figure out who you are, it's hard enough not having mental breakdown. And I had them a couple. And if you on top of that, this is something that I'll talk to you guys about, and it was very difficult for me to say it at one point in my life. I was forcibly separated from my family because I was deported in 2003. And so I didn't have that, family structure anymore. It just disappeared. So I had to find tools how to survive my mental health too, because that is this. If you're fine, if you're in tune with who you are and know your weaknesses, and like, let's say you're sentimental, you're sentimental, it's fine. Just knowing that much and being able to work on the fact that you're sentimental, like, you're gonna cry in a movie, and that's okay, right? Because it's gonna trigger something. That's okay. You can do that. You can go to watch a movie and cry, man. That's just part of who you are. Like,
Yep.
if you are unable to do that and you have to repress that, that's gonna come out at another point, right? That's gonna come out in another point where you don't want it to come out. So if you're fine, you have to be able to hear yourself in your inner thoughts and be. But the most important part, and I think we're accomplishing right now, it's having safe spaces to talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny you said something that struck me right there is knowing who you are and being able to be honest with yourself. And I believe, for me personally, and Jared may feel opposite, but I think as much as the military was good for me and good stuff, I don't think until I got out of it, I got a chance to figure out who I was. I enlisted at 18, so I wasn't even finished growing up yet. Boom, I'm in there. I'm being told what to think, what to do, how to say it, how to write it. There was no individual thought on a lot of the stuff we do, even though make you think they are. It really isn't. You're kind of structured. So I think part of coming out of the military, and I think that's, like I said, from my experience, and if it's me, I guarantee somebody else is going through it, because not all these are individual solo, like everybody's going through it. But that was a big thing. And I'm still going through that now. And I didn't even realize it until recently that I was doing that. Like, I didn't realize that I didn't know myself. I didn't know what brings me joy, what brings me happiness. I was just, all right, I'm going to go to work now. All right, I'm home with the family now. All right, I'm going to work now. Like, there was no joy in life for me because I didn't know who I was and I didn't know what would bring that joy. And now that, like, I'm done and I'm spending a lot more time with the family and I'm able to come home and have dinner with them, even though we don't sit traditionally around the dinner table, we eat and we talk. And, in my head, I'm thinking, all right, well, I want to start a game night now so my girls and I can play Dungeons and Dragons or something. I don't know. But we want to start doing game nights and other things. And even at a point of, like, going to the WrestleCon, like, I didn't want to go. And that was my mental illness telling me, no, you just stay home and be quiet and stay in your bedroom. No, I need to go out and go. And look what it did. I ran into Thunder Rosa, and now we've got you on the show, and we've been on her show, and it's opening doors, and I am having a lot of joy in life because of it. I'm enjoying talking to people about our show. I'm enjoying talking to people about mental health. You and I are kind of forming a connection as friends. Jared and I started this podcast.
We definitely are. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
even second guess it. We are definitely.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
But
That's another man thing,
but-
right? That's another man thing. Like, are we friends? Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want to punch me? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, we are friends, man. Don't. Yeah.
All right, good. I thought so. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So Jay Tilly goes from existing to living to loving life, finding himself. Tony was vulnerable enough to leap into a career that he knew he would love, but he had to put himself out there, risk, being rejected, and becoming the man that he is today will be different than the man that he is tomorrow, because you're going to have 24 experiences between now and the time you wake up. And then for me, having gone through 28 years, I was the youngest of 7, came from an upper middle class upbringing in New York, moved to Arizona, very nomadic as a Marine. And I have an awesome foundation with Tiffany, Coden, and Rylan, and with my being able to find who I am mentally and sort of scoot away from the heavy drinking and just burying my feelings, saying, hey, I got work to do, I'll deal with me later. Taking a little bit of time for me, even though it's not always convenient. And like Tony said, like, okay,
Yeah.
you don't want to deal with it right now, you don't want to recognize that you're sentimental, okay, cool. And then boom, you're in the middle of somewhere acting up somehow, and you end up on an episode of Cops, or in a hospital somewhere giving yourself a hug. Holla to getting right. That's shit hot. I love it.
Or like, you and I both were having the conversation about how suddenly we'd just be sitting around crying for no reason we didn't know. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And I shared it with him, and he's like, I did the same thing, which is when he's like, hey, I'm going to therapy for this. And I was like, well, I need to do that too then, because something is bottled up. Something is causing me to have those emotional outbreaks and all that. So it goes back to what I was saying, is you're not alone. Like, I would have never thought Jared was going through some of the stuff I was going through. And then hearing him talk about stuff, I'm like, oh, I relate to that. Like, I see what you're saying. Maybe I should talk to somebody and find out what's going on with me, because you don't know. And everybody, again, it goes to that sleeping. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't know about what was wrong, and I didn't realize other people were going through it. And I think that's a big thing, is I was the same way. No, I'm happy, I'm good, everything's fine. Man, why am I watching a commercial about the Dolphins losing and I'm bawling my eyes out on it's what's causing these. So then, okay, maybe I'm not fine, but am I the only one going through it? And then you realize you're not. That somebody out there, again, maybe a coworker that you talk about wrestling with, and next thing you know is probably one of your best friends in the world. It's just weird how those things happen. But like, I'm his support system. He's mine too. He might not realize it all the time, but me just calling him and saying, how are you doing? Sometimes like, I just need to talk to you because I've had a shitty day and we need to talk about wrestling and get my mind off the crap going on.
Here.
Oh man.
You got to replace. I'm big on replacing negative thoughts. Like, I don't like to be negative, and someone got me something that I really enjoy, and it's my little stress boob. So whenever times get tough, I'm a big fan of boob. So I just think of squeezing my boob. Good stuff. Positive thoughts.
The background on that is, I'm going to tell the story, even though Tiff gets mad every time.
Ahead.
So the background is, he and I were talking about, and he was having a rough day, and he was telling me, yeah, Tiff said I need to replace negative thoughts with positive. And he said, so boobs? And she was like, no, you can't think about boobs. Well, I told my wife that story. So she ordered him that boob squeeze ball for him to be able to have positive thoughts. So he's got a boob squeeze ball.
I did not those existed though, but that's amazing.
So she went through a couple of days where she just looked at me like, I can't believe you were thinking about my boobs all day. Yes, dear, I was.
I have a story like about crying
Boobs?
for no
No.
reason. No. I wish it was that positive. No, so I got myself. Well, let me first go back a little bit. So my dad died on 2015, right? And because I didn't want to just stay with the mentality of like, well, I lost and all this stuff and everything. That's when I decided that I was gonna go to film school. I was like, whatever, and I mean, it was crazy because he passed and everything, and I had to pay for the funeral and all the mess that comes out of that, right? But I was like, no, 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 I'm gonna stay positive, dude, and and I have to thank one of my friends, Andrea. She saw that I was like, this dude is not doing well, He's like, because I broke my leg a month after my dad died. I was horse riding, and I broke my leg. So I was like, it was everything together. And she's like, "Do you want to do a TV show with me?" And I'm like, "Well, I've never really done anything like that. Like, I mean, I take photos and stuff like that. I write scripts and stuff like that, but I never actually done. Like, no, I'm pretty sure you can do it. So we're gonna have a show on Tuesday, an hour." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, but I have no idea." Well, and so I went, got a camera, figured out how to edit, basic stuff, just like super basic. It's like just nightmare. And by the end of the show, because he only lasted like 3 months, so by the end of the show, I knew that that's what I wanted. Not exactly the show itself, but I wanted to produce stuff because the show was like super clunky, man. It made no sense. It was like interviews with
That's
like
awesome.
I will go to like I have one that I really love and I wish I could salvage that. I don't know what it is. It was on DVDs because we had to burn it on DVDs to play it on the station because they didn't have anything else. So I don't know where those DVDs are. Anyways, I have one with a lady that I interview and she's just like very calm, telling me how to plant trees. But this interview is like 45 minutes, man, for TV. So it's like whoever watched it, I'm pretty sure like we should have put it like 11 o'clock so everybody would go to sleep because it was like, so then you take the dirt out, but you got to make sure that you have your gloves on. It was super slow. So anyways, so I finally go and study this because of I don't want to be there in the same town where my dad was buried. So it takes a couple of years and I start getting good and then I start branching into art like visual, like video art, not just trying to do something that makes sense, just expression of my inner thoughts in the most craziest possible ways, and I'd be very successful at that. I believe that I'm more successful at that what we've been doing with Thunder Knights, and because I've got a couple of award nominations for awards, stuff like that. So I finally got a little bit of money, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy myself a truck, because I'm a cowboy. So I bought myself a pickup truck, and then I'm listening to the Eagles, stuff like that. So I'm listening to like the Gambler, and then all of a sudden I start crying. So I'm like, okay, my feelings. And then I took again the truck, now it became a thing that every time I was driving, I would listen to country music, I would start crying. And then so I was like, okay, what's going on? And then it became all music and driving. Like so, there's one moment where it became paralyzing. That I was like going to 7-Eleven, and it will be a psychological mental breakdown. So I finally I go back to therapy, and I tell this to my psychiatrist, and we come down to the fact that music, of course, it evolved too far from what it was because I was not paying attention to, right? Because there was a signal there, like, hey, maybe you need to work on this, bro, because it's making you cry. So of course, my dad and I used to drive. The state of Chihuahua, it's a little bit smaller than Texas, so it's huge. You can take 9 hours going from town to town, and we'll be listening to country music like the Eagles and Kenny Rogers and stuff like that. So yes, that's me not working on my dad. So and it will make me cry for no reason. I mean, I will acknowledge the crying, I will let it happen, but then it will cripple me of not being able to do other stuff. So if there is a sign of something, just listen to it and work on it, right? Because it's gonna take you to places you don't want to be because you want to be functional. And I wasn't being functional just because I didn't listen. So, anyways, I got rid of the truck. But now I'm able to drive around and like listen to country music and feel happy about it because it's something that I enjoyed with him, right? It's something that I enjoy with my dad. So it's something that I like to. And this is another thing, like I've been like this is something that I didn't realize that I was doing intentionally. I'm gonna turn 40 in December on December
So young,
of
like a baby.
thank you, I appreciate it.
I remember
Yeah.
back in the
Um,
day.
Oh my god, thank you guys. Yes. So I'm going to 40, and I don't have any kids. So and I had more than a couple of people women that I could have kept kids with. So the question is why? And so we have come to the understanding because I don't feel that I have come to the fitness as a parent to be able to do that. and I have been avoiding it. And I don't. And if you think about it, that's not fair for the women that have to live with me, because maybe they want to have kids, right? So it comes to a moment with like, okay, now it's the time to have kids, right? Because now I have acknowledged that, so it probably is going to be a couple of Tonys going to run the house, hopefully in a couple of years.
That's awesome.
It's just things that you're not working on because you don't want to, and you're not listening to that part of your mind. That, let's be honest, we're not that fool much of a fool not to listen to what we have inside of us, because it's right there.
We'll listen. We'll listen to a couple of things that our brain or our body are telling us. But then, like, you're like, oh man, I really need a drink. Psh, you'll stop what you're doing, and go grab a drink. Oh man, I would kill for a donut. Psh, I'm gonna stop traffic to go grab a crawler. Bet you believe. But yet, like how we've all been talking, I'm sitting here watching a show, and the intro music just sets me off. And I would look around, no one's home. Let her rip. And fortunately, it never happened like in public. It generally would happen. There would be the sound of the music, and I tried to like, and I've talked with my counselor, and she was like, "Hey, that's just like what Tony was saying. Hey, that's just your body, your soul, your being saying, hey, man, water level's a little high. Let's go ahead and let her rip and come in touch with some stuff." And I really appreciate both my counselor and my psychiatrist, and my wife is a counselor, and I probably should listen to her a little bit more because she can drop some nuggets of knowledge. And but even then, our just talking with our buddies, and you'll get one spectrum or the other. Hey, man, just bury it, just put it away, or yo, man, just drown it. And then you've got your buddies sort of in the middle. Yeah, man, go work out, change your diet, change your routine. And then Jay Tilly and I were comfortable enough to say, yeah, man, you should go see someone. Yeah, you're right, I should. And now, I don't have that urge to just explode cry. I feel comfortable taking on other people's, what they would refer to as burdens. I refer to them as, them sharing and being able to move on with the next event in their life. And, I really appreciate all of that. And, Tony's sharing that he's at a point now, like I've acknowledged Roman Reigns style. I'm ready to be the head of the table, and he's going to get a couple of little Tonys, and man, that's sick.
Yeah, and there's I forgot this one step in the that I went through. So I know this. I know it sounds like a very tragic, and this is the part where, like, life. It can be very, very tragic. Like a lot of bad things can happen to one single person all the time. And so when I broke my leg, a couple of after my dad died, this is like a country song.
As he starts laughing, this is terrible.
Yeah.
He busted. Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah. So I had a dog, and my dog got poisoned. Like somebody just stick a little bit of poison in,
Oh my God.
and the dog died, and they died on my arm, and I lost it. I remember that I broke windows, and I was really like mad. I was destroying stuff around the house because I was really like, who will do that, right? And it took me until this year to get a new dog, and that dog bites the shit out of me though. But I love her so much. But it took me very, very a very, very long time to realize that I was doing it because I would not let myself get hurt by losing another dog, right? Because it would trigger all this stuff. But then I had to realize that that's just what life is. And there, like, if we think about all this stuff, that there's a lot of little, like, animals out there that need to be rescued and stuff like that. And I was depriving them for maybe, if they live 3 months or whatever, I deprive them of a really good life, having somebody that loves them. So we finally got a dog, and I mean, it is hard because see, I've loved this dog so much right now that we're moving to a different house, so she has like a bigger yard where she can play. But that's it, and that will bring me like a joy of having a larger house and enjoying this creature that is there just for me to be happy and take care of. And I was denying myself that because I was afraid of confronting the fact that that things are not forever, and humans and animals pass when the least expected. So you better just enjoy having that in the moment that you do, because you always have this mentality of, oh, when things get better, and when everything's gonna be just right, and that's not true. You have to live your life, of course, like especially with like a kid, you have to be responsible that you will be able to pay for college. You have to get kidney, so you have to stay healthy so you can sell your kidneys so your kids can go to college.
There's the message.
That
Bam!
And on that, no.
Breaking
No, no.
news.
Yeah, breaking. No, it is, but it is a process. But it all starts with listening to yourself and finding ways to cope with your emotions that you have. And I told JT, I think it was like the first time we talked about, like the way that wrestling came back into my life to keep me stable and to make me happy. I couldn't thank, and I know this, I'm gonna say that I work with Thunder or whatever, but when AW came back it came in the air, like when that first show, I really, it really meant something different for me, because it was something that I could focus on every week, that I could look forward. And we're talking about this. This is like, this is a moment like right after is like the pandemic, right? Everything just like everything disappeared. So all your friends and and the way you were growing or whatever, the way you were connecting to other people disappear. But now you had all this larger community of people that were really positive about watching the show. And I my girlfriend, like, okay, so this is wrestling. This is what I like to watch. You're gonna be here every Wednesday, and now Saturdays. Go watch Collision. In Spanish, Thunders in Spanish. But now this is a thing that it really, and then I start meeting people. Like it eventually came to you guys, right? But I have met people along the way. They have been so positive that reinforce this idea that there is a larger community of wrestling fans that want to do better. And yes, that you have these idiots and whatever, trolling people online that they have not. What I think is that they have not worked on their issues as well as we have, and they're not continue trying to improve because they just banter hate, and that means that inside of them, there's a larger thing to work on. So I think that I like when wrestling came, I like this again, this part of my life, because growing up when I was like in high school, I got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in Kansas City at the Kemper Arena. And I got to see Kane. Well, this is one of my favorite stories. DDP, right? DDP was like doing this speech. The speech.
We both did it.
Yeah, yeah. He was doing what was he? Was like
The motivational speaker.
like a motivation,
Yeah,
like
the DDP
that's
yoga
not a
and
bad
all that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
Oh, and then like boom, Kane came out and it was like the fire could feel on your face. It was insane. It was insane. But I was a kid, right? But now it had this other aura of community, like an actual place where you can talk to people, and people trying to embrace this new perspective of wrestling that was presented on television. And from there, making that podcast, they got me to meet Thunder, and then meeting like Simon Miller, having like connections with all these people and stuff like that, and just being. It also gave me like the freedom to be creative about something that I really care about, right? So it's yes, there's moments in your life that are very dark, and you just have to know that they will be over and good things will happen. And I mean, it's going to be a continuous thing when you just have to have the support and be able to talk to other people and know your feelings and express them. That is very important because, like I said, we don't usually express our feelings at that open like we're doing it right now. And I think that I mean, thank you for guys for having me, and I encourage you to have other people come on the show and express their feelings as well, because if we can continue to do that, everybody will get their opportunity. And if you don't have a platform like this, at least you have to be able to create spaces for other people to do this, be it at work, be it with your homies, hanging out, because everybody's hanging out with like, oh yeah, man, beer, yeah, hey, give me another beer, man. Yeah, no. Well, how's everything? Everything is fine, man. I'm rocking this world. And sometimes it's not true, bro. So let's be open to other people to be able to do that, as we have done here.
Yeah, 100% agree. You struck on the tragedy in life and death, and up over my shoulder, I've got the dedication to my buddy Rob, who passed very unexpectedly, which is kind of what kicked me in the ass to go, Jared, we're doing this podcast. Let's go. because kind of for some of the reasons, hey, it's something I've wanted to do, but him passing was just so quick. I talked to him a week earlier and we were making plans for him to come to the house and hang out, and boom. But and part of grieving for his loss, like I used to not be able to talk about it and without getting choked up. I'm not choked up right now. I'm just phlegmy. But no,
but it's okay if you are.
Yeah, but it's okay
But
if
it's
I
okay
am.
if you-
But I used to, the first couple shows we did, I really had a hard time acknowledging even the fact that he was up there and doing it. So grief is a big thing, and that was one of the things that pushed me to start seeing somebody, is because I knew I wasn't grieving right for it. So that struck when you said that. I was like, that's true. You never know when whatever your support system is going to be gone. And he was a big support system of mine. He was the guy every day I'd call. Hey man, I'm going to go outside and have a Cohiba with this bourbon. What do you think? And he's like, oh man, that's a good combo. Let's, I might go buy one of those. So, and you lost that and it was like, bam. But I don't know, it just meant a lot. And the other thing I want to touch on is the wrestling thing. So AEW is the same thing for me. And I think that's why I'm so closely pulled into it, is because I was at the press conference for the announcement of it.
Oh,
And was
really? Wow.
Yeah, and I was hyped up about it. Started watching it, and at the time I was living in Georgia and my family was living here. The idea was they were going to move up with me. Well, and it ended up not happening. Then COVID hit and I was stuck. So it was very much a way of like relief for me to watch it. Like it was, I don't know, it was same thing, right? Like it was something like I could kind of not think about anything else and could watch wrestling. And I'll never forget Cody's speech that first show. It was just one of the best, when he came out that first Dynamite and said, hey, we're going to be here. We know you guys feel it. And then Moxley about hugging your grandmother and all that fantastic stuff. But and I've told the story a bunch. Being in the military and then taking the job in Georgia and all this other stuff, my oldest daughter and I kind of didn't have the bond we should have had. And I took her to FanFest at AEW when they finally opened it up and we're letting people there. And now that was our bonding moment. Like her and I, she's the one that peeked around the corner to see if I was talking to Thunder and was all disappointed it was just you, Tony. But she's the one, like she's into it now. So it became a bonding thing for us, to where whenever they're in town, we try to go. AEW, you need to not forget your hometown. I'm just saying, Tony Khan, not Tony Allen, Tony Khan, come home one time. But, we would go all the time. We went to every show and it became Dad, when are they going to be back? Oh, we're going to go to this show and this show. All right, I can't wait. And it was great. It was such a bond. And then my youngest went with me once and now she's bonded. Like now it's who's wrestling tonight? Oh, okay. And yes, they don't watch it as religiously as I do, but it's still like, I'll know to go, hey, Darby Allin's in a match. Let me go let Edie know. Or, when Thunder Rosa gets back on, she's pumped. She keeps asking me, ask him when Thunder Rosa is going to be back. I'm like, when she's healthy. But, she's like, I would always call in the ring. Or, Orange Cassidy is another one of her favorites. So now it's like that thing, like I'll be watching it. Yeah, she might not watch every storyline, but when those people are in, she'll come and sit on the couch right there with me and appreciate it with me. And then things like the Ospreay Omega match, which were mind blowing. I could call her up and tell her to sit down. Even though she doesn't know anyone, she can watch it and appreciate it. And it's just made that really good bond. So yes, we talk wrestling and mental health, but I agree. It's that safe space. And not only that, I think it could bond people together. And then going to events, right? Like I've been to concerts. I've been to, any kind of group gathering of like that, football games, hockey games, basketball games. You get fights break out. People act a fool. I have never been to a wrestling event where people act like a fool.
Never. I can say that. And I live here in Mexico. I go to like all kinds of concerts. I've been to AAA. Everybody is shaking everybody else's hands after the show. Oh, that was great. Remember that? Yeah. And then people just talking about it, leaving the arena. It's like another experience, part of it.
Yeah. It's like you're a family when you're there. I'll never forget one time we were there and there was two ladies sitting in front of us and had no idea what wrestling was. They weren't watching it. So they kept looking back and asking. And my daughter's like, oh, she's like, well, who do we root for and who do we boo? They're like, my daughter's like, whoever you want. Like, we don't care. And my daughter, it was awesome. Edie goes, the story will tell you. And I'm like, oh, all right. That's good stuff.
Oh,
right?
my God. That was the greatest answer ever.
Yeah.
What?
She's like, the story in the ring will tell you. I'm like,
wow.
That's my girl.
Oh, man, that's a tattoo. Yeah. Coden, Ryland, and I, we would go to shows. And there was one Christmas event, the WWE came to Raleigh. So we went, and I was able to get really good seats being on active duty. And we go, and I'm in the first row back from ringside, and you're like 2 feet higher. So you're not looking at the bottom. You're in between the second and third row. And so we're sitting there, and Coden bumps me and goes, hey, because when you're at a live event, you don't hear the play-by-play. So, some of the stuff that doesn't make sense when you get home and you watch it and go, oh shit, that's what he was doing. Or the Fiend comes down and all you see is a red light. You're not sure what's going on. So the mystique is lost unless you're on TV. So Coden bumps me and goes, hey, run it, run a play-by-play. So I do the match, and I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. They're going to meet in the corner and someone's going to tap someone. Whoever does the tapping is communicating what they're going to do. And we're right there so we can see. Coden is in hysterics, right? So the match ends exactly how I said it was, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know that DX was going to be there, Road Dogg Jesse James and the badass Billy Gunn. No idea, right? And I had seen the rundown, but for some reason they weren't advertised. Huge fan, right? And Coden and Rylan look at me and I'm like almost in tears. And that moment was like they became DX fans. And then, fast forward, AEW comes to town and Jay Tilley's like, dude, you got to check this out. I'm like, yeah, I will. And I checked it out and man, I haven't stopped. And we would critique, what are the referees doing? What's up with this 20 count? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? They didn't care. When they came to town, we'd look at the card. I'm getting, a Danielson shirt when Danielson popped on the card. I was getting, when we went to see a show, I went and got a Darby Allin shirt. And then we get to when CM Punk shows up. And Rylan is there. Rylan now is 19.
Oh, wow.
At the time, I think he was like 17 or 18. He hadn't seen CM Punk in like 10 years, but he remembered seeing him. And he was like, hey, can you get me a CM Punk shirt? CM Punk shirt, the black ring tee to the whole thing. We go to the show, and he was just like in awe. It was so loud. Yep. It just erupted. And, the bond of how you could bond with complete strangers like that is just awesome. And I love professional wrestling for the suspended belief, the good guys, the bad guys, the character work. For every Isaac Yankem terrible character, there's a Razor Ramon. There's a Thunder Rosa.
Vikingo.
A character that resonates with everyone. Oh, Vikingo.
We're huge fans of his, by the way.
That's the guy right there. Seriously. Lucha wrestling really brought the character to the fan, and it slowly becomes part of almost to the point where and you can even say like MJF was a wrestling fan, and now look at the type of wrestler he is, and the negatives have turned into a positive to turn him into one of the greatest wrestlers on the mic right now. And man, I dig professional wrestling. I dig what it's done for the bonds that I've created and the space that it gives me. Even though WrestleMania 39 ended the way it did, it's whatever. But that's part of life, right? Those are the journeys. Those are the ebbs and flows and the character work. And now in hindsight, I'm so glad, not only did he not win the Undisputed, he did not win the world title. And we can continue on. And
we'll discuss this on a later show.
Let's go, man.
That's still.
But hell yeah, man. I love wrestling.
Yeah, it's like it's amazing when you like hear other people say your thoughts. You know what I mean? Like it's so that just goes to prove that there are other people out there that are having the same kind of mentality you have. You just need to find them, and by find them, you have to ask who has the same. So it's funny because when Punk came back, for everything from the production standpoint, from the everything they did was like fucking magic. Like I pop for the moment, I pop for the production, I pop for the music. Everything was perfect. Like if you ask me that everything it was insane. I have shown this video of like they have a behind the scenes of how they did everything with like production and everything. We were in the middle of an art gallery opening, and I'm like, you guys want to see art? Yeah, you should look at this, because this was like contemporary art in the greatest expression possible. Because and then everybody's getting paid for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like the art sometimes does not get paid for anything they do. So
starving artist for a reason, right?
Artist. Yeah. That's the common denominator. And I show them, and I've converted some people into wrestling just because of like the Kenny Omega Osprey. That I mean, how do you even if it was theater? What level of theater is that? You know, what kind of commitment to your character is that? What kind of commitment to your audience is, right? Like these people, like, and I'm fine because, especially when we were back in high school, it was like a really, like, really, you like this
What's
is a
that
fake
shirt you're
stuff like that,
wearing?
right? Well, yeah, exactly. So, but now it's like, you have this artistic level of things, and that's what I personally want to take this, especially storyline wise. I want them to be as deep as, the payoff of Endgame in movie make 10 years. Right? I don't care. I can do a long ass storytelling. Let's build that kind of stuff. And I think that if people are, I think that wrestling is a conduit of people communicating. Of course, like I said, there is this section of people that have not dealt with their mental health, and they're very terrible. But it will allow people to, because it can be anything you want. It can be anything absolutely that you want it to be. And if people like it, it will live. Even if when the forces of creativity don't want it to be, it will be, because it's just that people will commune about it. Like, we're like, no, we want that match, and we want that character to be that way, because that's the ways that character should be. I'm not a big fan of LA.
LA
What's his
Knight,
name? LA
yeah.
Knight. Yeah, but apparently they're making. He's doing himself, and it's like huge, right?
I think he
And
just
I
broke
really
Jared's
like
heart a
that.
little
I
bit.
mean, I don't know why I haven't watched it, but I think that if that no,
No,
really,
he's a
you don't
huge
like it?
fan.
Okay,
Don't
but
see me. No, I'm.
oh, you're a huge fan. You're a
Oh
huge fan.
man,
Okay,
yeah.
I will let you explain to me so that I know. But that's what I've been listening to. Like
Yep.
that's the way this guy is, and that's the way that they just let it rip, man. Let it happen. And I think that's a very important thing, because it's if wrestling can be anything that we allowed it to be,
Right.
right? It can be this safe space that we talk about all the time, when we can just feel comfortable about being ourselves, right? And everybody can be themselves. That's what I like, and that's one of the things that I like mostly about, like in Mexico, about wrestling. Like, people will go in costumes to the show, right?
Tailgating at wrestling events, and just, and we may not like the same every single wrestler. We may not like the end of every match, but that's the awesome connection where you could be sitting in an arena, and Jay Tilly and I would fantasy book a match completely different. And we both love wrestling. We're on this show together. We talk almost every day about stuff and wrestling, and we could pencil in an ending of a match, and we both go, damn, that's pretty sick. That's awesome. So the fact that someone doesn't like LA Knight, or the fact that, someone thinks, me personally, Cody should have won the world title. Well, I would have been completely wrong. The masses, who were so upset and walked away from WWE, that's just, life in general, where people will go, oh, they traded my favorite player away from my team, or I used to watch this TV show on this channel, and they got rid of my TV show. I'm not going to watch that channel anymore. I'm getting rid of cable. I'm just going to stream it. That's life. That's, the ebbs and flows, and we figure out a way to navigate in the world together. And that was the awesome thing that AEW allowed us to do, where the pandemic hits, there's 1,000 people in Daly's place, and the place holds like 9,400 or something like that. We go in, there's 1,000 people. It's so intimate. Everybody's awesome. It's such a great experience. And you can forget, shit, man, I have to wear a mask 23 hours a day. The 1 hour is, you're cheating, and, the camera's going to get you, and you're going to get, Skynet's going to grab you. Yeah, 6 feet. Urgh. But yeah, man, I love wrestling in that space that it gives us. And, that's why I dig being part of the No Shave Man Cave. Woo, man, good
So
stuff.
tying it back around to what the show was, mental health, and it goes to show that there are connections not just in wrestling fans, but same with the mental health area of it, right? Like, we've all come and talked about how wrestling has affected us. Well, it doesn't have to be wrestling. So if you're out there and you're like, well, I don't like wrestling, so I have no help. No, it could be football, it could be ballet, it could be opera, it could be whatever your passion is. There are people in that group, a fandom of something to, be a part of and to be grouped with. So, do that. Look for those commonalities with people. And then eventually you'll be able to start opening up to somebody, and you never know. But I think some of the key points though is you got to be yourself. You got to know who you are. You've got to know when your body and your mind are telling you things to be able to adjust and make the right course correction, using a military term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have to be able to listen to yourself and then look around and know that it's very likely that people around you want the best for you. And if you don't feel so well, you can tell them and they will listen.
Yep.
And you will find ways to work through this. That's just human nature. We always want to support each other. I think that I truly believe on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do too, unless you're some kind of psychopath WWE
Yeah,
fan.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I kid.
I'm just kidding. But so I mean, good show. I think we got a lot out. I appreciate you so much joining us, Tony. Like, awesome to get your story. You're welcome on anytime you want. Even if you want to come on and just do a Raw review or a SmackDown or talk your favorite matches, we could talk wrestling all day long.
Well, I would love to do favorite matches. Like I would like to. I haven't done any. Like I had the podcast. I haven't done anything, but I would love to do that.
Cool.
Like we can. Well, maybe we can talk about after All In. Right?
Okay.
We can talk
Yeah.
about
We could definitely set
we'll
something
see.
up, because he and I are trying to
Yeah.
think of some shows that can. And it's funny you talked about the Omega Osprey one. We did a show a while back about what's a one wrestling match you would show somebody to try to get them into wrestling. Mine was
Yes.
Hogan and the Rock. Like, if you start
Ooh.
not knowing anything about either one of them, which now they're both very well names, what a great story to tell.
Yeah, that would be very like under a rock.
Right.
somebody,
But I mean,
like,
way to hook somebody if you needed to show them something. So I think his was the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardys, right?
Yeah, TLC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the story that the six men told, the team cohesiveness, the destruction, but the beauty, working from underneath, getting that awesome finish and the payoff at the end.
But yeah, we'll have
Love
you on.
wrestling.
We'll have to do some wrestling podcasts for sure.
No, mine. I think I gave you this one.
I
the
know.
other
I gotta
day,
watch
remember?
it. All I can find is highlight clips.
Oh man, oh yeah, I know. It is kind of hard to get. I figured out after I told him like him. It's Tony Deppen versus Thunder Rosa at GCW. That because it breaks every kind of possible belief system. It's a man versus a woman, and it's an amazing match. And
Wow.
it doesn't matter. It's just.
I'm gonna
great.
see if it's on Fight and see if I can just get that pay per view.
Probably, yeah. We will probably talk about it then in a future time, so we can wrap it up now.
Yeah, we'll add that to the list. All right. Well, if you want to hear that podcast with Tony joining us to talk wrestling, check us out wherever you get your podcast from. No Shave Man Cave. Follow us on all of our socials. No Shave Man Cave on X, I guess it's called now. TikTok, Threads, all the other ones. I think we're still waiting for our invitation to Blue Pill or Blue Sky or whichever one.
Don't take the blue pill.
Yeah, that
James.
one.
Blue Sky. Hurry up, send us our
Blue
invite. We're at nearly 100,000 downloads. Let's go.
Yeah, we just hit
Nice.
nearly 100,000 downloads on the audio version of the podcast. Appreciate everybody listening. Again, like I said, wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, some of the ones I've never heard of, No Shave Man Cave. Check out Thunder Nights, Monday nights at the end of Raw. They go live. And actually, you know what? I'll toss it to you for anything you want to plug.
Okay, no, just check out Thunder Rosa 22 on our socials and our channel Thunder Rosa on YouTube. We have the vlog. The taco vlog is coming. We're gonna have a surprise for you guys. Somebody very big is gonna be there. And just follow me at Tony St Allen and all my social threads X. Why do you call it X?
That's so dumb.
And tweet whatever. Yeah, just follow me, Tony Allen. I'll give you so you can put the thing on there.
Hit the like, subscribe. We go live Tuesdays and Thursdays for a live show recapping wrestling of the week up to that point on YouTube and Rumble. And you know what time it is. It's time for that hot tag for the Marine.
Bump and feed, bump and feed. Yes, sir. Hey, great show. Thank you so much for joining us here in the No Shave Man Cave. On behalf of Jay Tilley and our man Tony, thanks for joining us here today. To all our brothers and sisters in arms, thank you for what you do. We love you. Hurry up. Get your ass home. Someone needs you. And until next time, my friends, my fam, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the floor.
You've been listening to the No Shave Man Cave.
If it's pro wrestling, we're talking about it. Unless we see something shiny and wander off into the woods. If you hang around long enough, we'll eventually come back. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Fire off your comments and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at No Shave Men Cave. Y'all be cool, and we'll see you next time on the No Shave Men Cave.